All right, we are live. What's up, everybody? By everybody, I don't know who all's here or not here. I'm back on the tube, back on live. Yeah, man, we're gonna start something new. So, I've been gone a little while, a couple of months now. Yeah, I thought it would be good to get back on a live show again, update some of the people that have been following for a little while that have subscribed to the new channel. I guess it's kind of like the old channel, but it's been rebranded, been renamed among a lot of other things when it comes to my socials and everything that I'm doing going forward. So, yeah, I thought it'd be cool to do a little live show right before the holidays, right before Christmas, hang out, shoot the shit with you guys a bit. And just kind of give you a background and figure out what's kind of going on and give you guys appreciate the warm welcome, guys. That's cool, man. Yeah, right on. Good evening. Thank you. Appreciate that. Welcome back. Yep, Nolan. Yeah, shout out to Nolan. Very cool, man. Very much appreciated. You never really know if when you disappear for a while, if people give a fuck if you're gone, or if they care if you're coming back, or if they care about if they care about your content in the first place, or if they tolerated you. So, and anyway, man, onwards and upwards. So yeah, this probably won't be a long cast tonight, but happy to update you guys on kind of what's going on. Obviously, there'll be some things that I won't talk about. I won't answer questions on certain topics, which I reserve the right to do so. And here's the deal, man. Here's something I've kind of learned that, and this is a lesson. This is possible. This is part of just talking, and also talking to, myself, and also talking to guys out there that might resonate with this. But people pretty much have their mind made up about you, especially strangers that don't actually know you or aren't close to you, don't know anything about you, have never spoken to you or had a conversation with you. People that see your online persona, whether it's on Instagram or Twitter X or YouTube or any of the above social medias, people sort of have their mind made up about you. And to draw a parallel to this, you guys could look at Andrew Tate and his fight that he had on, I guess it was Saturday. I guess it was the 20th when he fought Chase Demore and lost by a decision. Didn't look good. Looked old, looked slow, got tired. I mean, I didn't watch the whole fight. I'm going to go back. I might do a breakdown of it. If you guys would like to see something like that, let me know, because I'm going to be doing more than just like Monday live shows. I'm going to be doing a couple of videos a week. I'm going to be putting a lot more shorts out. You probably won't see shorts and reels on YouTube. YouTube is going to be where I'm going to do most of the long form stuff. But if you guys are following me on Instagram, I changed, man, it's been so long. I don't even know where to aim on my screen here. But if you guys will follow me on my Instagram handle, Chris _ it's __ Moffat. You guys will see a lot of that stuff there. And we're going to do a lot more long form content and maybe a live show. Definitely considering and thinking about bringing back some sort of ladies panel show in some capacity. So if you guys have missed seeing TC and Spencer and maybe even myself doing that kind of thing, stay tuned. We may be looking to bring that back in the new year, as well as doing some sort of, generals or council show with some of the guys in the Brotherhood, which, I'll talk about what the status is of that, here in a bit. But getting back to my original point, people have their mind made up about you, really. People that think you suck are pretty much always going to think you suck. People that like you are pretty much always going to like you. And people that are indifferent are just going to be indifferent, especially when you talk about, again, I'm not talking about the one-to-one relationship that you might have with somebody. I'm talking about maybe sort of a parasocial sort of relationship, or the relationship where people may know you, but you don't know them. Maybe they're following you on some sort of social media, on YouTube, Instagram, whatever. And so my point being, whatever you guys think happened, fine. Whatever you guys think happened, I don't really care. There's a few select people that really know what went down. Obviously, that's not something I really care to share. There's not really any point in doing so, because it's like my own personal business. It's my own personal relationship, my own personal background. There's no reason that I would go and share this stuff with, a stranger on the street. So again, don't take offense to it. Don't think that there's some greater meaning and some reason that I'm not talking about it. Really, in 2026 and beyond, I'm just focused on doing my thing and growing and building what I've always set out to build, which is the Brotherhood, which has now been rebranded and changed. We're dropping any sort of unplugged or matrix sort of references from any of the style, content, or branding that I'm going to be doing. And we're going to be geared more towards traditional, foundational, ancestral masculinity, as we like to call it. And really, that just encompasses a couple of core tenets and core components being, physicality and strength, stoicism, provisioning, protection, leadership, and ownership. Six things that I think are traits and six embodiments that men of our ancestors essentially have always embodied in an effort to move their people and move society forward. And I think those things have gotten kind of lost. So I'm going to be doing shows and videos along those lines and things like that. I'll still comment maybe on some current events, especially as it pertains to those pillars and it pertains to those tenets. But I think you guys are really like the stuff that I'm going to be putting out. And it's like, yeah, you can't control your audience. You can't control the people that watch you. But my hope is the kind of guys that are going to be interested and watchers of the content or viewers of the content are people that are high agency, are people that do believe that you control your own destiny. They don't point fingers. They don't play victim. They don't say dumb bullshit like modern women are cooked or modern women are 304s or every woman in the West is a whore. It's a good thing I'm not monetized yet because this would already get demonetized. So I'm not looking to deal with those kind of people. I don't want to even engage with those kinds of people. If I see comments in my comment section that say anything like that, they're just getting straight up deleted. I'm just not doing it. I did that for the last couple of years. And because it wasn't my channel that I was on, like I didn't have a lot of control over conversations and things like that. And I just assume not engage with those kind of people. Like it's just negative energy. I don't want to deal with it. I can't have negative people around. I can't have people that are going to point fingers and play victim and complain. I need people that are winners or that are trying to be winners, that are trying to get better, that are trying to reach that next rung of that ladder. Those are the only people that I'm interested in talking to, having relationships with. So, if you're carrying over and watching me from my work on a previous show or previous brand, welcome. But just know that we're going to be delineating a little bit from that kind of content to a certain extent. I think there's a lot of value in certain things like evolutionary psychology in helping men wake up and transcend to new limits, pushing past the bullshit, getting out of their heads, rejecting these sort of limiting beliefs and breaking free of their safe world theories that keep them from getting what they really want out of life and keep them from actually transcending and getting what they really want. So that's where things have been, man. So, it's been a couple of months. Like I said, we rebranded the Brotherhood. The Brotherhood is still my full-time gig. We still have a huge slate of meetups, events, and things that we're kicking off in 2026. Like I said, I'm going to have a lot more content for you guys churning out. We're going to try to do these live shows every Monday. This is the very first one, Monday Moffcast. I'll always be looking for things to comment on. I don't want to do a ton of politics stuff. I'd rather, if I'm going to break that kind of stuff down, it's not going to be my personal reaction. I'll be breaking things down. Like I have a buddy that wants me to do a breakdown of the Piers Morgan, Nick Fuentes interview, which would be a longer video. Maybe I can do that on a live. Maybe we'll do that next Monday or the following. I know with holidays, it's going to be kind of crazy with travel and things like that. But again, like if you guys are here for the drama, you guys are here for the dirt, you're going to be sorely mistaken. Just not going to talk about this stuff. We're going to move forward. What else? So yeah, I been heads down, doing a lot of work on myself over the last couple of months. I've made a lot of I've gone through a lot of self-discovery over the last couple of months, man. And it's funny because the comments come out of the woodwork. It's like, oh yeah, we're glad Moff is finally gone. We never liked Moff, stuff like that. And that's okay. And that's, you guys have every right to, to say that kind of stuff. But I know there's guys that I have supporters out there. I know there's guys that ride with me, and that always has meant a lot. And it's been a really fun ride, and I'm excited to kind of go on this trek and kind of blaze my own path at this point, because, like when I was working with Rich, there was always this feeling, always this sort of, there was always sort of this fraudulent feeling that I had, this sort of like imposter syndrome. And it was like, I would talk about this kind of stuff as far as pushing your chips in the middle and mental toughness and grit and all these sort of things. And I knew that I had always kind of had a safety net. I always kind of had a parachute. I had a good, solid business partner that I could rely on. And we did 50-50 on a lot of things. And now that that's, it's just no longer the reality of the situation. I didn't dwell on it. I didn't cry and kick and scream. It was one of these things where it was like, okay, like now it's time. Now it's time to really see what I'm made of. Now it's time to really see, can I do this on my own? And I personally believe I can. And I've got a lot of people in my corner that believe the same thing. And, people that I've worked with in the past, wish them well, more power to them, whatever. But I've got a lot of great connections. I've got a lot of guys in my network. I've got a lot of great ideas for content, for collaborations, and things like that. One of the things mainly you guys are going to be seeing is a lot more behind the scenes footage when it comes to like meetups and events and things that I'm doing. I think that one of the easiest ways, one of the best ways to tell stories and to have things to talk about is go out there in the world and actually do shit. So I had 11 guys come down to Tampa 2 or 3 weeks ago to do a 3-day sort of MMA fight camp. We trained twice a day. We had a private chef prepare all of our meals for us. He came and did a kick-ass prime rib dinner on the Thursday night where we all arrived. Then he boxed up all this meal prep for us over the next 3 days. So, guys could eat and fuel and recover. And then we just trained our asses off. We trained a minimum 3 hours a day. So we had a session in the morning, a session in the evening. We had an additional optional workout 2 of the days, and then we finished it up with some sparring and some one-on-ones with yours truly. So I went like 13 straight rounds, 3 minutes apiece, and got to test myself a little bit against some of my guys in the Brotherhood, and that was a lot of fun. And we're going to do another one in March. We've got a huge slate of events. Like I said, we're going to be doing a lot of training this year, a lot of combatives, but I'm going to be bringing my photographer and my videographer, who you guys have seen some of their work already if you follow me on Instagram, or some of the intro reels that we used to do for the podcast, the stuff like on Algonquin and the VIP stuff on the beach in San Diego, all of that. And we're going to be doing longer vlog stuff style to give you guys more behind the scenes look. Obviously, my number one priority is growing the business and growing the Brotherhood. Those go hand in hand. And so, I just want to make sure that I'm, giving value to those guys, but also looking to attract new members. And one of the things that I don't want to say we're necessarily going to soften our stance as far as admissions, but we've got a lot of potential to really blow this thing up and make it a worldwide, phenomenon and a worldwide group. Where I was talking to a potential member today. He's like, what's your plan? Like, where do you want to see this? Do you want to have chapters? I was like, look, I want to make this multi-generational. Like, I want to raise sons that are going to be a part of this group. I want other guys that are my age to start having kids and sons and bring them along father-son trips. This is, if you guys know anything about my background and my story, and maybe you don't, maybe we can start there. I mean, maybe I'll just kind of do a re-intro of myself. I know I just spent the first like 15 minutes yammering on, but yeah, man, maybe we could just start there. A reintroduction and kind of who I am. If you guys aren't familiar or you're kind of new to this channel, I'm happy to do that really quickly. So, and there's going to be some content coming out about this as well that you guys can pay into. But I would say, like, growing up was always tougher to fit into social groups for me. I always kind of thought I was the odd man out. I always kind of thought I was just on the fringe. I never really could find my place in a group of guys, whether it was the friends that I grew up with in like elementary, middle school, high school. I was like friends with the popular kids and friends with the cool kids, but I wasn't a popular kid. I wasn't a cool kid. I was just kind of like popular adjacent in a way. Like, I wasn't getting invited to parties, but I lived, 30 seconds away from the prom king of my high school, right? A good friend of mine, still friend of mine to this day, played football, baseball with these guys and that kind of thing. And then that started to even bleed into like my college years. I latched on to some really, really, I would say, charismatic and social guys and social people that were cool to me and like brought me around, and we were really good and close friends. And so, but I was never really the guy that was organizing the parties. I was never really the guy where I was the main attraction. If I was going to throw a party, it wasn't like they were there to see me. It was there to see other people, or it was, I was never really the leader of the group or leader of the pack or anything like that. And a lot of that came from having a hard time fitting in growing up. I became really, really worried, or I became like this guy that never really wanted to miss out. Like I had the original FOMO. People talk about fear of missing out. Like I had that in spades growing up as a kid, as a teenager, as an adolescent, even in my young adult years, because being left out of stuff sucks, especially when you're a kid and growing up, social interaction is just so important for your development, and it really helps you create your identity within a group. And that's why I like dunk on these fucking Sigma faggots all the time about, yeah, I'm a Sigma male, man. I don't need outside validation of people. That's like being a fucking guy that's like, yeah, man, I'm just self-sufficient. I just don't need food. I don't need water, man. Like I'm good. 7% of me is already water. I don't need any more. Like you're taking a functional biological need of community and social interaction and basically saying we don't need that. That's all cope. You guys are fucking retarded. But I'll do a video on that, I'm sure another one at some point. So same thing happened through college. I thought that I found, and I developed this pattern pretty early on, probably like in high school, and then it went all the way into my late 20s, early 30s, was where I would get into a relationship. Like I could get girls. That was never the problem, guys. I wasn't like an ugly duckling. I had girlfriends in high school and like middle school and stuff like that. And all throughout, my 20s and things like that. And so, but what I would do is like I would get into a relationship. Edit the camera there. I would get into a relationship, and then I would sort of let those relationships with or friendships with my guys that were already on like shaky ground, I would just push them off and I would let them go by the wayside. And this is not an uncommon thing. I think a lot of guys definitely do this, but I was pouring all my time, energy, effort, resources into a relationship. And I was the guy that wasn't hanging out with friends, and I wasn't going out and doing that kind of thing. And then we would inevitably break up, and then I would go back to my friends and I'd be like, oh yeah, sorry, I've been MIA, and they're like, all right, dude, like cool, like just don't do that shit again. And then another girl would come around, and then I would repeat the same behavior like all over again. And what I kind of figured out later in life is that this was sort of like a subconscious defense mechanism. This was me basically saying, hey, I'm used to guys not wanting me around from the time that I was young. And the reason for that was, real quick as a backtrack, like I always had a temper growing up. Ooh, Moff has a temper. Wow. Oh, never would have guessed. But I was really quick to anger. Like I was really an angry kid. So like, let's make fun of the guy. Let's get him angry. It's funny to see him get riled up. And, that's just one of those things where I was trying really hard to fit in, and it's just like, it just wasn't working. I wasn't particularly athletic. I wasn't particularly big and strong. I wasn't particularly like gifted. And when you're kind of average when you're kind of average at everything as a kid, like you're just invisible. If you're not a great athlete, or you're not super smart or something like this, or you don't have like one gift or talent, you're kind of a nobody, which is kind of what I was. I was never the fastest runner or biggest lifter or anything like that growing up. Wasn't the best athlete. Again, I was a JV all-star, I like to say. Like, didn't start on my high school team, but, he put me on a JV squad and I'm cracking skulls. Like, that's kind of who I was. So fast forward, I have this repeating pattern of relationships in my 20s. This happened in college, and then I moved to New York shortly after college was over. And a lot of my college friends stayed local. I'm from Virginia originally, for those of you that don't know. And they stayed mostly local, and they stayed tight. And I just kind of moved off and sort of did my own thing. And then I got a job or two, and those guys became my next closest friends. And when I got my job in New York working for the Mets, that was a really, really, really close-knit crew and a really close-knit group. And it's like being in a certain industry, you're sort of forced to hang out with or interact with only those people, because when you're working in professional baseball or hospitality or anything that's just weird, crazy hours outside of the normal 9 to 5, that's just who you hang out with. When you've got to be at the ballpark for 10, 12 straight days without a day off, working from like 12 noon to 10 o'clock at night, it just messes your schedule up, and you can't have relationships or friendships with people outside of that after the fact. And then my pride got the best of me, and I quit that job because there was some bullshit that was going on with an outside hire. And this is when I still believed in justice, and that everything, like the hardest worker and the worker with the most integrity should reap the rewards, and that should be paid off in spades, and nepotism shouldn't exist, and people shouldn't be getting unfair, paid handouts and things like that. And that was just old world, safe world conditioning, right? You know, the way you're raised growing up, you work hard, you get good things, you do good things happen, you do bad things happen, and the whole world's fair and 50-50, and that's the way that it goes. And a quick aside, I think one of the biggest problems that our Generation Z is facing right now is that they've all grown up in a world with our modern public school system with these leftist psychopaths who talk about, you know, fair is fair and everybody deserves equality and equity and everybody needs to have the same, basically like communism and socialism in a nutshell, but for kids. And then these kids are graduating high school, they're graduating college, and they realize the world is not like that at all. People are going to backstab you. People are going to steal things from you. People are going to take what you think is rightfully yours. They're not going to work for it. They're going to get handouts, and they're very, very pissed off. Shout out to Fight Club. But the point being that, you know, I was kind of like that growing up. You know, I was forced to grow up sort of as an early age because my dad was a firefighter. And so, I mean, he could run into a burning building and be gone any day. And so he'd always told me, he's like, hey, look, it was imperative that I showed you guys the right way to grow up and the right way to conduct yourself and to maybe make you grow up a little faster than you otherwise normally would have, because I needed to impart to you the knowledge and the wisdom and the skills that it took to be a successful adult. And more power to them, man. Like, look, our parents make mistakes. They did the best they could. So, I mean, if you got a tenuous relationship with your father or any of your parents, you know, it's okay. I understand. I've been there. There's still things that I talk about where I was like, damn, like we really didn't have as much as I thought we had growing up, or damn, we sure ate like shit. Everything that I ate growing up came either out of a can or out of the freezer. I really didn't know about fresh food. Didn't really know anything about nutrition growing up. And maybe I would have been a better athlete. Maybe I could have been 6 foot tall. Oh no, Moff's not 6 foot. I'm 5'11". Maybe I could have been 6'2". Maybe I could have been a star athlete. Like, who knows, right? Who would know? My dad's 5'6". My mom's 5'5". So the fact that I'm 5'11" is a fucking miracle anyway. So I'll be grateful for whatever I got. And so I did this repeating pattern thing, you know, and I went out to the real world, you know, tried to make some friends, made some good friends. And then a girl came along, and then I started spending all my time with her. And this was a repeating pattern until up comes, you know, the girl that unplugged me, red pilled me, whatever. And for the record, it's the last time I'm going to say either one of those words on a podcast for the rest of my fucking life. So, you know, look, like everything was great. In my head, everything was great. This was a girl that I'd been with for about a year and a half. And I'll keep that story short because my God, it's a long one. But we were about a year and a half in or so. We decided it was time to move in. Moved into an apartment in New York. I just got a promotion at a job that I really liked, was making twice as much money as I had ever made. Got a dog, and it was great. We thought it was amazing. We finally got to live together after, because she had lived in the southern tip of Manhattan and I lived in Astoria, Queens, which is like an hour commute, like an hour and some change, even by train in New York. People really don't know how big New York really is, but it was really far. So we didn't see each other during the week, and got to only see each other on the weekends. And there's a ton of issues with that relationship, and maybe I'll do an episode on that, but I don't really feel like dragging, you know, an ex's name through not that I would, but she's a private person. She doesn't need people going and searching, digging up dirt to find her. There shouldn't be any paper trail in any of my socials, but you online sleuths, don't go looking for anybody. That'd be fucking stupid. But in any case, we moved into the apartment March 1st, 2020. Anybody want to know what happened 2 weeks later? The whole world went to shit. COVID, everything went just down the drain. And I was in New York City. I was in the epicenter. Now, for the first like couple of weeks, it's fucking awesome. I wasn't working from home at the time. I was still going into an office, and it was like kind of like it was like a snow day at school. It was like a mini vacation. We got to hang out during the day. We got to raise the puppy. We, you know, ate junk food and still could we couldn't really go to the gym, but we thought this thing was going to be lifted in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks tops. You know, a year later, still not, but we all know how that went down. And slowly but surely, the gyms were closed, barbershops were closed. Because I worked in the sports industry and there were no sports, I got my hours massively reduced at work, which means my pay was massively reduced. Even though I was salaried, they basically made me re-sign a contract that was like, you're now a part-time worker. So you're only allowed to clock in and log in from 8 in the morning to 12 noon. Then you have to log off, and we're only going to pay you half your salary. And I had just spent all this money on an apartment. We didn't buy it, but we got this apartment, splitting the rent 50-50, that that was the budget. I budgeted myself for this apartment based on the money that I was going to be making, not the money that they cut. So that really sucked. And now for her, and this is when the gears start turning, guys. Like this is all the stuff that went down that I later, like a year later, after I had fucking figured out where I went wrong, I was like, oh my God, how did I not see this coming? But you can't beat yourself up over that, right? Like forgive yourself, guys. Forgive yourselves and get rid of the revenge fantasy. So, I'm still on the hook for half the rent. She didn't get cut out. She actually got more hours at work. She had more work to do because she was in the pharma industry, which was, I don't know, obviously was going nuts at the time trying to develop a vaccine. And so didn't offer to help out, didn't offer to cover my portion or to cover, sit back and go back and do the math. And I thought like, yeah, no big deal. Like whatever. I mean, I didn't really hold it against her. And, but I put on weight, my hair grew out. I spent all that extra time. Now that I had all this free time and I wasn't working from 12 to 5, I can't go anywhere, can't work out, and remember, I pushed away all my friends for like the last year and a half. I pushed away all my friends, or I stopped hanging out with all my friends or calling them and talking to them because I invested every single waking minute, hour, a day into this relationship, trying to make this woman happy, being her dancing monkey. And so I picked up the video games. And some of you guys know this, not everybody does. I was a major video game player as a kid. I was never allowed to play games during the week. I could only play on weekends. So, I mean, from the time, I don't know, when did I get my PlayStation 2? 2002, 2003. I was maybe 10, 11, 12. And because, it's like graphics were starting to get good, PS2, I played a bunch of Madden, played a bunch of games. And so I would come home from school on Friday, like 3:30, 4 o'clock, and I would play video games all day, all evening, Friday, all night into like 2 a.m. in the morning Saturday. I would get up at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning Saturday. I'd play all day, and then I'd get up again on Sunday and play until like 6 p.m. on Sunday when I wasn't allowed to play anymore. And then I had to do like homework I had over the weekend, stuff like that. And I did that for 5 years. I don't know. I did, and then in the summer, dude. Oh, in the summer, I could play as long as I wanted because I didn't have school. So no one gave a fuck. So when other guys and other kids were going off to camp and they were making friends and they were going outside and playing and they were doing stuff, or they were training for football, they were in an off-season program, I was playing fucking video games, winning fake trophies that don't mean anything, running up records and creating players that are doing accomplishments that I will never actually achieve in real life. And I realized how much of video games are an escape. And that's why I don't really play them anymore. It's because like my dad even said this to me one time. He was like, look, man, like I think you play a lot of video games because you're trying to escape. You can be whatever you want in a video game. You pick up Madden, you could be a star football player. You pick up fucking, I don't know, MVP baseball. You could be a star, third baseman. You can pick up Halo. You could be a fucking whatever the fuck that guy is and killing aliens. Pretty cool. I appreciate that, man. Thanks. But yeah, well, good to be back. But yeah, you can be whatever you want. GTA, like, oh, you can be a bank robber, right? You have unlimited lives and there's no consequences, right? You can make all this fake money and buy fake cars and have fake notoriety. Meanwhile, like your actual life is dog shit and you have nothing really going for you. So played a ton of video games. And at the same time, she started being really social and going out and hanging out with these new girlfriends that she met through some like influencer fan page or some bullshit. I don't even remember, but she was getting on Zoom calls with them. And at first I was really stoked for her because she had had some really big falling outs from girls she thought were her best friends that she used to live with before she moved in with me. And she had like nobody to talk to and no friends. And I was like her only friend. I was like, I don't know. I'm busy. I'm playing video games. I don't have time for this shit. I don't want to talk about girl stuff. What the fuck? And, started spending a lot of time with them. Then restrictions started getting lifted and she's hanging out with them and she invited me a couple of times and they've got, some of these girls have boyfriends and it's like these guys were cool, but it's like not guys that I would really hang out with on my own. And again, I was sort of afraid to put myself forward and try to really like hang out with these guys. And it was just, it's like, look, man, like I also wanted to be friends with dudes that I wanted to be friends with, not because I was friends by circumstance or friends by proximity. But anyway, man, like you fast forward a couple of months and we had a couple big blowouts. We had some really embarrassing blow ups in front of her. We had one really embarrassing blow up in front of her friends. But I don't know. Do I have time to go into that? Yeah, I'll go into that real quick. So this was kind of like the camel that broke the straw that broke the camel's back. So this is maybe July of 2020. This is like 3 or 4 months after we moved in, and I finally got into my head that I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna marry this girl. Like, I really don't think that I can. Like, she's super distant. Our sex life went to pretty much zero, which was already pretty non-existent in the first place. When we lived apart from each other, I'll do a quick backtrack. We would only see each other on weekends. So I would get off work, go home, change, pack a bag. And I almost always went to her place because she couldn't bear the thought of coming over to Queens. She had to be in the city because she was obsessed with being a social status butterfly or whatever, which is very funny because the apartment that her friends actually lived in downtown New York City in the financial district, a very nice part of town of New York City, it was I guess you could call it a one bedroom. It was technically a studio with a home office. So you would go out and there was a living room and they had a little kitchen and that was it. And they put 3 girls in there. So her room was the home office. And the reason you knew it was a home office is because there were no windows. So it was a tiny little office that she got because she paid more money. And then her 2 friends put up fake walls in the living room to have their fake bedrooms, all for the appearance of like, yeah, I live on XYZ street. I'm not gonna tell you psycho's the street, but I live in the financial district. And I'm like, it was the craziest thing. And so when we moved into a place in Queens, it had to be really, I was like shocked the fact that she would move to Queens. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Even though the place we moved into was one of the newer high rises in Long Island City, and it was the 12th floor, and it was out of my original price range, but whatever, shame on me, I guess. So anyway, this stuff's building up. I'm thinking like, fuck, man, am I really going to marry this girl? I don't know. Just like get me through COVID. It's just one of those things where it's like, I don't know if it's cheaper to keep her or it's just, it was like, no, because no, it wasn't. No, because it had a closet. It had like those double door closet doors. So I don't know. But anyway, yeah, fuck off. What are you talking about, Ron? Not going to Queens. Queens is the shit. Fuck you. I lived in Queens for 7 years. I always lived in Queens. I worked in the city. Queens is the shit. I will not tolerate Queens slander on this channel. 718 area code. But in any case, I remember we all had some girls and some guys over. It was the first sort of get together because you weren't even allowed to get together in your own building. You could, it was crazy, these rules, man. If you guys don't, it's crazy how much is forgotten. But anyway, so we're going around, we're drinking, having a good time. We're playing some card game. I don't remember what it was called, but the premise is you have a little timer, right? A sand timer. You just flip it and it's only for 3 seconds. And you're supposed to flip the timer and then draw a card, and then it'll prompt you like name XYZ ABC. And you had to name the thing before the timer ran out. And so it was my turn, and I drew a card. I flipped the timer, I drew a card, and it was like name one thing, or maybe name 3 things, whatever it was. It was name something that you do on your wedding night. And instead of saying the natural answer of like get laid, I was just like, oh yeah, wedding night, like that's ever gonna happen, or something like that. And something like that. Or like, oh yeah, like I'm ever gonna get married. And I'm fucking drunk at the time. So I did not understand, or I did not pick up on the hushed silence that now fell over the entire room. And she starts acting like such a bitch for the rest of the night. And I'm like, what is this woman's problem? And she's not talking to me. She's ignoring me. She's like, talking to her little girlfriends. I'm just standing there like, what the fuck is going on? So finally the last couple leaves and she closes the door and I just go, what the fuck is your problem? Like, what is your deal? And she goes, you don't want to marry me? Oh my God. I mean, it was crazy, man. It was like, you don't want to marry me. You just told all my friends you don't think you're going to marry me. Oh my God. I've never been so embarrassed. I've never been so blah, blah, in my entire life. And to my own credit, not to pat myself on the back at all, I didn't back down because I was like, yeah, I was being 100% honest in that moment. We were both fucked up, whatever. And I can't remember if I slept on the couch that night or not. I don't think that I did, but it would have been, if I did, it was my own volition. And even if I didn't, whatever, fuck you guys. Like, it was a long time ago. She goes to bed, like sobbing, crying uncontrollably, like her life is fucking over. You would have thought I like killed her, like shot her dog or something like that. Like, that's whatever. And maybe but that's the first time I ever witnessed. It's all coming back. It all comes full circle. That's the first time I ever really witnessed embarrassment, like, and how deep that goes, especially in front of her girlfriends, like being embarrassed. It's like, if I told her that in private, probably not that big a deal. Probably should have been like, alarm bells would have been raised, like red flags, like, wait, what? But that level of reaction would not have happened. That, so a lot of that was not only the fact that like this guy that I told all my friends was going to marry me, and then I've got wrapped around my little finger because she did. Now, in front of everybody, I just said like, yeah, I'm not marrying this broad. Like, you guys are nuts if you think that. I'm trying to get some of these questions. Would I ever live in New York City again? No, absolutely not. I went back a couple of months ago and I visited, and I went to some of my old stomping grounds, and it was fun, but I would never move there again. Yeah, for sure. Except I didn't pick up the signal at the time, like subtle attitude. Yeah, that stuff now. Was I against marriage already? You know what? I went back and forth on it. I actually remember having a conversation with a couple of buddies where I was like, I remember saying this verbatim. I was like, I know I don't want to marry this girl, but I know I'm gonna. I remember saying that out loud, and people were like, "You're out of your fucking mind." I was like, "It just is what it is, man." And that's how I was. Like, I was convinced I was going to marry this girl. I knew I had deep down that I shouldn't. And all that stuff bubbled up a few months later, obviously bubbled up during this, game we played. And the next morning didn't go any better. She gave me the whole sob story. I've never felt so unloved. I've never felt so hurt by you. Again, you would have thought I cheated on her. You would have thought like I fucked someone else and then told everybody about it at a party. But all I did was say, like, yeah, I just don't really feel like, I don't know if I want to fucking, I said, I don't know if I'm going to, I don't know if, because she asked me the night before, she was like, do you still want to marry me? I said, I don't know. And that's what set her off. So that whole thing, she gives me the whole, I don't want you to be here. I don't feel safe with you. I don't feel safe with you in the house, whatever the fuck that means. And literally, I packed the car, I packed the dog up, and I drove home to Virginia, 6 hours, and I just kowtowed. And I had to get a COVID test and all that kind of bullshit. And then I spent a couple days at home, and I drove back in time for what was supposed to be our second anniversary. And we went out to dinner, and it was a little awkward. And at the end of the night, I'm like, okay, it's our second anniversary. It's time to get it on. And she was like, yeah, absolutely not. And it was the weirdest feeling in the world that I'd ever had. It was the weirdest feeling ever, man. It was this sort of mystifying cocktail of anger, like rage, versus incredulity. What would you call that word? Like, I was incredulous. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And then like disappointment, all of these things mixed up. And I could feel myself trying to reconcile these thoughts in my brain, because I just walked out of the room. I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Like, I'm not even gonna get laid. It's our anniversary. I literally bent over backwards. I drove 6 hours home, and I spent a week there, like eating my mom's cooking, which we've already established, right? Always came out of a can or the freezer. And like, no disrespect to my mom, by the way, if she ever sees this. I don't think she will, but I might cut that out. But in any case, and I'm still not getting laid. And it's like, in my mind, I was like, this makes no fucking sense to me. I'm like, I was like, you're the only person on this planet that I have agreed to have sex with. And there's no one else out there that I'm having sex with, or I would be having sex with, or I would be okay to be having sex with. And yet I don't get to have sex with you. It's like, you're my only chef, and I promise not to ever dine at anybody else's restaurant so as long as I shall live, but you won't cook for me and feed me. I'm literally starving. I'm sitting here at your dinner table starving. I'm hungry. I have pledged my undying allegiance to your restaurant, and you just won't cook for me because you're tired, or I haven't earned it and deserved it. Explain that to me. How does that make sense? And we tried the stuff, man. We went away on a little vacation up to Vermont and like, yeah, whatever. She brought like some lingerie and I was just like, oh, I had to pretend like I get the guys don't give a shit about that. Like, ladies, if you wear lingerie, like, no dude care. No guy under 50 cares about lingerie because y'all just wear it to the gym now anyway. So who cares? But what's next? So eventually the culmination of this being it, I'll tell you guys this quick story. And it's actually kind of a weird story because I was actually mad for the wrong reasons. I was mad for very like beta type reasons. So this little friend group she had, one of her best friend in the friend group was having her birthday or whatever. And guess where they went? Not Vegas, but they went to not Nashville, but they went to Miami. They decided to go to Miami on a girls trip with no guys around. And they did the whole thing where like 8 girls share one hotel room because they're all broke, but whatever. They got money to spend on like clubs and swimsuits and stuff like that. And so again, this was right when COVID was actually a big deal. This was when now you could catch COVID and people could die from it, especially old family members with pre-existing conditions that were very overweight and had compromised immune systems, which described some people in my family at the time. And this was maybe a week and a half to a week before going to back home to my family's for Thanksgiving, going to her family's for Thanksgiving. And a few weeks later, it was going to be my family for Christmas. And so she goes down to Florida and she goes to a club and they go to a nightclub and there's a bunch of dudes around. And this is in Miami. So like Florida was very laissez-faire with their mask rules, not like we were in New York. And she's randomly clubbing with random dudes. And here's the fucked up part. I didn't care about the random dudes back then. I was like, oh, whatever. I knew what the club game was. It's like, oh, yeah, cool, whatever. Like, there's dudes that you're going to drink their shit and you're not going to fucking sleep with any of them, which I hope to this day. I don't know for sure, but I don't think she did. But if she did, it wouldn't surprise me. And I was mad about the no masks. I was like, how could you be so irresponsible that you're going to go down there and party with complete strangers and you're going to potentially catch something that you might give to a family member of mine and kill them? And you're going to fuck everything up. And here's the crazy part. I didn't even see it firsthand. Like she posted it on her story. And then I had another buddy of mine, like call me the next morning. Cause I was already in bed. It was like 10 o'clock. And, he's like, yo, what's up with your girl, man? I was like, what? What's up? Yeah, just go check out her story. And I just was appalled. I was like, what the fuck? And I called her and I was just like, what are you doing? And dude, I ripped her up. I laid into her. And all she did every step of the way was argue and be combative and try to make excuses and point fingers and try to somehow turn it around on me like I was the one to blame. Like, oh, you're the only guy that has a problem with this. All the other boyfriends don't care and blah, blah, blah. I'm the only yelling at you. Like, why are you yelling at me? You don't treat somebody, you don't talk like this to somebody that you love. And I was trying to be rational. I was trying to be calm. I was mad. Don't get me wrong. I probably was getting loud, but just trying to say like, I'm logically trying to explain to you why this is a problem. And she just wasn't hearing it. Right. Of course she was a woman. It was going in one out the other. All she heard was emotions. And it was that moment when I realized I said, man, this woman does not respect me as like a boyfriend. At the time, I used the term partner, as a partner, gay, as a partner. And most importantly, like as a man. And not only does she just not like me enough she doesn't respect me. She doesn't respect my opinion. She certainly doesn't respect my authority. Something that I was so blatantly right about, I was like, I'm not wrong on this at all. There's no wiggle room. Like this is the hard line in the sand. There is no pushing. This is my Alamo. And she just didn't give a fuck. And I remember talking to my dad, basically saying like, yeah, man, I think this relationship's run its course. And then we went to her family's place for Thanksgiving a week later, and it was super awkward. And neither one of us really wanted to be there, but we were keeping up appearances. And it was the night after Thanksgiving. We went back to the hotel to get ready to fly back to New York the next day. And we both had a conversation. We're like, this is done. You know what the crazy part is of all this? I still tried to save it. I still thought that it was salvageable. I said, well, we shouldn't live together. We should not move in. We should move out together. And if you guys know anything by now, having gone through this maybe yourselves or actually watching any of my stuff, you don't go back in the story. There's only going up. You can't just ramp stuff up and accustom somebody to a new level, especially a woman, and accustom them to some sort of standard and then pull the rug out from under them. It just doesn't work that way. And she just said, "Yeah, that's it. No, we're done." And there's some stuff that I left out, within the coming month, with the previous months and things like that. But and I had even started watching some of this content even before the breakup because I was looking for stuff like how to be a good boyfriend to a chick that has daddy issues, right? Or that it doesn't speak to her father's not around. And she said I'm never allowed to comment on it or have any opinion. So maybe I should try to learn to see if I can help her out. And of course, then you go find the rabbit hole. It's like, actually, you don't have to date these women, dumbass. So here's what you should be doing instead. And then all of a sudden, one thing begets another. And then I found the content, joined the community, made a lot of great friends. I was really excited to be surrounded by guys that thought the same things that I thought or found things the way that I found them in such a short time. And I was loving life, man. I was dating in New York City. I was applying these tools and these lessons that I learned. I was doing well. I was having a good time. I was getting laid. It was cool, man. It was a good time. Like enjoyed it tremendously. I was making more money than I ever had. I had made a ton of new friends and was sort of starting to put together my own events within this community. And then like down the line, man, like guys stopped showing up to stuff as much. Guys became more obsessed with like politics and just yapping about, oh, did you see so and so's tweet and stuff like that? And so I and it wasn't an idea I had on my own. It was, Rich came to me, he's like, "Hey man, you should start your own community under this community." And I did. And, we called it the 10%. And then it went through some iterations and it changed and it went to the brotherhood and prices went up. And then as I started running events, like those were the guys that really wanted to show up and do this kind of stuff. Like the brotherhood guys were the ones that wanted to come to the events that I wanted to do. They wanted to come to Algonquin. They wanted to go to VIP in San Diego. They wanted to do all that kind of good stuff. And I just naturally gravitated more towards those guys. And so again, like it's just kind of where things have gone, man. And it wasn't ever really like a full-time gig until recently. I would say I was still doing it on the side and it was just like a cool group of guys. And then that's when I really started doing more of the content and coming on the show when I was at this W2 gig, and I was crushing it there, man. I had a $4 million book of business as an account manager. I was working with brands like Patagonia and Beam Suntory, Salesforce, Foot Locker, like major global brands I was working with. Um, yeah, those are the big ones, but Palantir. And I was killing it. Like the business made 20 million ARR and I was managing four of that. I was managing literally a fifth of our entire business. And I bought into it all, man. I drank the Kool-Aid, right? We're a family. We're all in this together. I was really good at my job. It also was super cushy. Like when you're an account manager with big accounts, they don't need a lot of work. They don't really need you to babysit them. For most of them, I had a monthly standing call. And like 9 times out of 10, they'd be like, "Yep, we don't have anything. We're going to cancel." Because when you're selling software to a big company, it's really, really expensive to get rid of it and find a new solution. Once it gets integrated into their systems, there's very little agility. There's a ton of red tape and change is a huge pain in the ass. So that's why, like, if you can get an enterprise software or enterprise account management with a very low maintenance product, dude, you can print money. I mean, I wouldn't sit down at my desk sometimes until like 11 o'clock or even noon. And I'd have one meeting at 2 o'clock that I would cancel. And then I would like go to the casino and I would like go play blackjack or whatever. Or I would just screw off. But then I got called into, after I got back from a hog hunt with the boys and with some of the guys down in Texas, I got called on to an HR call. And I'd seen that like my head of HR was looking at my Instagram story over the weekend. I'm like, that's super weird. Like, why is this woman stalking my shit? And so I had been a little too loose-lipped about the community. I didn't really talk about the YouTube stuff that much. Oh yeah, I do this YouTube show with these guys, and like we get on every Monday or every first Monday of the month or something like that. Because that's back when Jaron and like some of those guys were involved. And I basically was just like, yeah, I got this like community of guys who like to do shit, get together, blah blah blah. But I was really proud of it, and I have a link tree in my bio now on Instagram, and I had something similar to that back then, and I actually had gotten rid of it. So I had it for a long time. Then I got rid of it, and then I brought it back. And then within like 2 weeks of me bringing that link back, and it linked to like certain episodes of YouTube I was on. It was my own little personal website where guys could book me for like coaching calls, or they could, like they could request like here's a question I had. Can you do a video response? It was just very basic. And I might bring something like that back in the future. I know there's better apps out there. But in any case, I got called into like an HR Zoom meeting, and they basically were like, yeah, we found that you on Twitter made both transphobic and fatphobic comments that don't align with our company policy. Therefore, you are fired. And this is also at the same time where I was selling insurance on the side, which I was never, but they were like, oh, you also broke our dual enrollment clause, which I didn't because I was an independent contractor. I wasn't ever working for another company. But if I had tried to fight that, I was working on insurance, on company time, on company equipment, being a dumbass. Because I was like, whatever. Like, what are they? They're going to fire me, and they're going to catch me. And but yeah, I would do that. I would do insurance for like 9 to 10, 9 to 12, and then I would work my other job. That's what I would do pretty much every day. And I was doing pretty good. And that was it. I was like, okay, like 2 weeks, like, nope. Okay. First off, I said, do I get an opportunity to defend myself? Do I have an opportunity? Like, can I plead my case? Is there a judge? It was like my CFO and then two chicks from HR. And they basically were just like, yeah, you're done. I was like, well, what about like a package? Am I going to get severance? No, like you're terminated for cause. And it's because it was a handbook thing, right? And plus it's an at-will state, right? An at-will employment in the States. I don't know where you're located, Brian, but in the United States, they have this thing called at-will employment, which you can be pretty much fired for any time, any reason without notice, unless it somehow breaks employment law, which this didn't. It's like, this is our company policy. We reserve the right to not have guys work here that don't abide by this. He's fired. So whatever. Now, maybe I could have fought it, and now Elon went to bat for some chick over her job, but it was a simple fact that they brought up the insurance stuff because they knew they knew their case was flimsy, and this was their ace in the hole. If I'd been like, yeah, like at first of all, they couldn't even prove the tweets were mine. Like I did such a good job of sort of hiding that persona and being the company man and like marching the way I should. I heard about this after the fact from some people that I liked and trusted and that I confided in after. And they're like, we didn't even think that was you. We couldn't believe it. Our HR, like the head of my department, they're like, we could not believe that was real. That was someone masquerading, pretending to be you. And it was only when you linked to like a YouTube video that you did or that you were a part of, did we finally have like that we had enough evidence. But even then I could have been like, yeah, there's no proof that they did anything. But it was the fact that like, well, yeah, we'll just get you for dual employment or whatever. So shit happens. Let me ask this. What was this question? Has it happened to you in reverse yet when you can't be bothered to have sex because you're upset, frustrated, or angry at some bullshit she pulled? I mean, I'm never too mad to get laid. I would say there's times where, I mean, dude, like, what an interesting question. Maybe my boy TC in the chat would have something to say about that, but I don't think that your emotion should ever be overriding your libido. I mean, dude, spread your seed, bro. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't care if you feel like going to the gym, go to the gym. I don't care if you feel like getting laid. It's your prerogative. How you feel doesn't matter. Get it done. But no, I can't remember ever being so mad at a chick. I mean, I might be turned off by a chick. Yeah. If the slight was big enough, or like she got super drunk or something like that. Like I had that happen before, where like this girl got absolutely trashed at this bar that I took her to, and it's like 3 a.m. and then she starts crying, saying how much she actually is falling for him. Like, oh fuck, dude. Like, yeah, that'll make it turn and run the other way really quick. But I'll bang out, yeah. But I'll bang out the angry dude for sure. So, wow, what a great question. I don't know. TC, why don't you handle that one? Yeah, he seems like he's got something to say there, but seems like it breaks federal law discriminating against heterosexual male, healthy, non-fit. No, but I mean, I wouldn't be able to prove that. Like, they said you tweeted certain things because of tweets. They didn't say I was transphobic and fatphobic just because I was a straight white in shape dude. It was just simply they were like, found your tweets, didn't like what you said, didn't like your tweets, and that was it. I skipped over this part with the girl. It's hard to backtrack on you guys, but I remember we didn't have a great sex life. And this is another, I want to bring this up because it's still a good lesson for you guys. I thought that I wasn't getting laid because we didn't live close enough, right? I would go over there like Friday or something like that. We'd spend all day Saturday and most of the day Sunday. Then I'd go back home. And there were and we would maybe see each other every other weekend, maybe. There were some times where I wouldn't get laid like for a whole month because she just didn't feel like it. Like I had a 72-hour, imagine having a girlfriend and being with her for 72 hours and not getting laid one time. And she wouldn't even like take care of you or polish you off and be charitable about it. So I'm like, ooh, cool. We get to move in together. Then I get laid as much as I want. And I remember we even had a conversation before we moved in together on our planned sexual frequency. And I know TC is laughing his ass off somewhere because I don't know if he knows these stories, but I had heard from a married friend of mine. He was like, yeah, dude, once you get married or once you guys move in once a week, if you're lucky. And I was like, no, that can't be it. Actually, to me, that was more than I was getting laid already. And so when I talked to her about it, I was like, like I talked to XYZ and he's like, they fuck like once a week. And she's like, I could see us doing twice a week. And dude, I thought I just won the lottery. I thought I was just like, oh, the skies like opened up. I'm like, maybe there is a God. But obviously that didn't happen. And, that went down the drain and started talking about negotiating sex and having like planned sex dates and stupid ass shit like that men do. And anyway, I got fired for that. I spent about a month unemployed or looked for other jobs. I actually got hired by a very similar company. And this was much smaller. And now I couldn't hide. I was the only sales guy. I could not just sit at my desk and fuck around all day. I actually had to work hard, which I was not super thrilled on doing because I just didn't like the people I worked with. The people were okay. I didn't like my boss. I didn't like my CEO. She and I butted heads a fuck ton. Just not a big fan of her. She wasn't a big fan of me. My biggest thing is like, leave me the fuck alone. I'm going to get the job done. And her biggest thing is like, well, I'm not going to leave you the fuck alone until you can prove that you can get the job done. But then me, I'm like, well, how am I going to be able to prove I can get the job done if you're fucking with me all the time? So it was just never ending cycle of, I want her to leave me alone and she refuses to leave me alone until I've proven it, but I can't prove it if she won't leave me alone. So we mutually parted ways in March of 2024. And that weekend I had a ski trip coming up with some of the guys. And I was like, all right, man, like, let me see if I can do this. Let me see if I can sell I need some cash. I need money, basically. She gave me a 2-week stay, which she fucked me over so hard on this, man, because if you guys are in sales, if you know anything about how commissions work, a lot of places or that's like how sales work. A lot of your deals that you sell will come at the end of the quarter, the end of March, the end of June, the end of October, the end of September, and then the end of December. It's just how budgets go, right? So you have quarterly goals, you try to hit them. And then you close all your deals usually within the last week or sometimes a couple of days of the quarter. And then 2 weeks later, you get your commission check. Well, this was March 1st, end of the quarter. And I was having a big, big quarter and she was going to owe me a lot of money, like probably 15, 20 grand worth of commissions. And she's like, yeah, you get 2 weeks pay and we're kicking you out middle of the end of the quarter. So like March 15th was gonna be my last day, which I just thought was such fucking really a real cunt move. But whatever, fuck it. Like she gave me 2 extra weeks. So I just basically was like, well, I'm not doing jack shit for the next 2 weeks, except looking out for my own self, like applying for other jobs and trying to sell brotherhood spots. So that's what I did, man. I jumped on Zoom calls. I think I had probably 12 of them in like a 2 or 3 day span. I think I knocked down like 7 or 8 of them. And I was like, there might be something here, right? There might be something here, man. I mean, I can sell what I believe in, sell what I'm passionate about. I just made myself, and over the course of, I think it was like March, April, and May, I just went on a tear and I just started selling these spots. And I think that I made in 3 months what it would have taken me 6 to make at my job. Right. So I did it way faster, but it wasn't sustainable and I had to start doing some other stuff. So that's another projects popped up. But yeah, man, like flash forward through everything that's happened since then. It's been just a crazy wild ride, man. I've gone all over the country, been to some places that I've never thought I'd go, experienced a lot of amazing stuff, met a lot of cool people, and I'm still around, man. Like I'm not disappearing. I'm not pulling a roosh and go find Jesus and like disappear over the mountaintop. I'm just going to continue to do my best to help men in the best way I know how, which is building community. I think that there's a lot of guys out there. Like the talking head thing is great. You guys are going to see a lot more content from me. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm going to do the live shows. I'm going to be doing long form YouTube videos. Again, if you follow me on Instagram, you want to see more of the short form stuff, that's where that will be. If I ever get unshadow banned from TikTok, maybe I'll start dropping some stuff over there, but don't hold your breath. But I'm really trying to build the brand, man. And I'm trying to build the brand based on optimism and positivity and hard work, right? Like not believing bullshit lies and not plugging into the stuff that feels good, that makes us feel all fuzzy and warm on the inside. But I can't deal with the doom and gloom activities. I can't deal with the doom and gloom attitudes. I can't deal with the stuff that just makes me depressed about the world that I live in, man, because it's like I don't agree with this. Everything is fucked. Watch it all burn down. Fuck it all. It's retarded. Like they're going to come kill you and murder you in your sleep. I just don't buy into that stuff. I don't buy into this, oh, the juice isn't worth the squeeze, because it's like 99% of the time, the motherfucker saying juice isn't worth the squeeze has never even had the fucking juice in the first place. Like, what would you know about juice, motherfucker? Like, what are you talking about? It's like a virgin saying, yeah, getting laid isn't worth, like how it feels to get laid and have a kid or impregnate a woman isn't worth, you know, the work that I have to go through to become attractive. It's like, what are you talking about? How the fuck would you know? How the fuck would you know? So fuck all that, right? The doom and gloom, the 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 sour grape stuff, man. I think if there's one thing, I'll tell you two things. Two people that you'll know, I mean, and then, God, if I make a list of people that I don't like and don't want to be around, we'll be here all night. So I'm not going to put a number on it. I'll just stick to this this example. I just can't be around guys that I just can't do the doom and gloom. I just really can't. I really can't do the doom and gloom, man. The guys that won't do the work, or the sour grapes guys. That's where I'm going. The sour grapes guys. I can't. It's so much more prevalent than I ever thought. Every day I come across some guy who's like, "Well, I'd run a marathon, but it's not worth it," or it's like, "Running marathons are actually a huge cope," and it's like some fat fuck. Or it's like, I don't know why you're going to lift weights. We're all going to die anyway. I don't know why you guys want such big muscles, because that doesn't mean you can fight. It's just these dumb motherfuckers that will find any reason to not try to do something. This is why I respect the hell out of Tate. And I'm actually, maybe I didn't realize how old the guy was and how out of shape he was and how far and how like long he's been removed from fighting. Cause I don't know if he still trains, but apparently he looked pretty bad in his fight. But everything he said, he's like, look, I didn't have any, beware of the nothing to prove guys, right? He's like, I didn't have anything to prove. There was no reason for me to have to go into this ring. There was no reason for me to put my life on the line when I have millions of dollars at stake in businesses and I have kids and I could get really hurt. And it's like, there was no reason for me to do this, but I did it anyway because I'd rather do that and not try. Like I could never forgive myself for not trying and trying to continue to prove myself and get better at something. And so for anybody that's just like, oh, I'm too good for that, or like I've already made it, or I've already done this, I just have no fucking, I have absolutely no time for them or whatever. Like saying this shit isn't worth it or whatever. Like, dude, it's your fucking life. Like fucking live it. So that's what you're going to see more from me, man. Like I'm excited for the fitness reveal. I know that guys have been dogging on me for years and years and years about getting in shape. I'm in absolutely the best shape of my life. I think I got about like 10 more pounds to go. I want to, I'll probably do my big reveal maybe on my birthday, but maybe I'll tell you guys it's my birthday, but do it another time so you guys don't know how old I am and my birthday is, because you guys are fucking. There's some creep pros out there. But in any case, I don't know, man. It's coming. It's coming. I'm gonna do my best to get a fight in this year as well, an amateur fight. And I want to clue you guys more into the training with that. Like the day-to-day stuff, I'm telling you guys, like if you guys want to follow more along with like the day-to-day stuff that I'm doing, it's going to be on Instagram, stories and reels and things like that. It's going to be on IG. I'm still going to post like YouTube videos, but that's going to be all like long form stuff. But maybe I'll do like and guys, like help me out. Like drop me below like the kind of stuff you would like to see me do long form on. Like I can do live shows on stuff. I've got a guy that's, we're building a whole short form content strategy with scripted beats and stuff like that. But I need ideas on long form. Like what's the kind of stuff you guys would want me to talk about? I don't care if it's something, it doesn't even have to be something that I've talked about in the past. I'll do, like, you want me to do food videos? I don't know, man. I'll do whatever, man. I'm just trying to, like, I'm trying to grow the brand and trying to do stuff that's interesting and that people are going to, that are going to think is cool and that they're going to get value from. So I will say we're a little bit over time here. I wanted to keep this to a tight hour, but it was good to hang out with some of you guys again tonight, man. Thanks to the guys in the chat for your questions. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, please, if you haven't already. I think I still got a long way to monetization, and honestly, it's not going to be that big a deal. Like, this isn't going to try to be a money driver for me. This is going to be a top of funnel, but smash that like button, do all the good stuff for the algorithms. Again, like, hit the like, comment, and that kind of thing that helps push me to guys that watch this kind of stuff. And just stay tuned for more, man. I'm really excited to be on this journey. I'm really excited to go through some tough times. Honestly, I'm really looking forward to the hardship because it's all part of your lore, man. And I don't ever, like I said, want to be the guy who people can look back, and there'll always be these people, but their opinion won't matter because they'll be wrong. There will always be people that'll look back and say he only got successful, or he only became this popular, or got this many followers, or made this much money because he rode the coattails of somebody else. And I would not even 100%. There's parts of that I would agree with, but there's parts of it I would agree with. Like, I wouldn't even 100% disagree with that. Out of pure, like, ego and cope, I would be like, yeah, like, I owe a lot of my brand and my following and my exposure to Rich Cooper. Like, I'm that's neither here nor there. But I think there's a lot that I did also to cultivate some of my own skills. Like, I got in shape. I was like, I can only do that. Like, nobody can do it for me. Making more money, like, I had to go through that. Like, I had to go through these hardships and that stuff. And I'm only looking forward to it building me into a better guy. And more and more to come. So this is the only, like, I'll tell you guys this, like, again, I'm moving forward. This will be probably the only time that I'll address what happened in the past in any meaningful way whatsoever. I have no desire to be flinging mud or starting drama or making pot shots or anything subtly at anybody for any way, shape, or form. I have no interest in that. And there's really no reason to. Like, there's no reason to say anything bad about anybody in this particular case. So if you guys are hoping that there's some crazy drama or some shit out there that you're just waiting for somebody to pop off on, like, it's just not going to happen. So let's just move on in a forward direction. And so with the holidays, unlikely that I'll do a show. We'll see. Maybe we'll do one, but I'll do one next Monday if you guys give me a good topic. So if you guys want to see me doing something, jam out on in the comments below. If it's a good suggestion and something I can run with, I'd happy to do a video. I want to get into a cadence, but I'll also be traveling back from the from some holiday travel, so we'll kind of play that by ear. But subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell so you guys are notified when videos drop, things like that. Follow my Instagram so you can keep along with that. And should have my first vlog should be coming out probably the next couple of weeks. Like I said, we did our Tampa MMA meetup a couple of weeks ago. I brought my videographer. He got like 6 hours of footage or something like that. And he's trying to cut that down. It looks like it's going to be probably like 40 or 45 minutes. So I'll be really proud when that comes out. And I think it'll be really cool and a lot of fun for you guys to start seeing behind the scenes stuff. Not just like the Rambo hoorah, like sizzle reels. That stuff's all well and good. But I think a lot of the value of the discussion is like you guys actually seeing dudes hanging out and doing cool shit and not having everything look like it's a movie trailer, for an Academy Award nom or something like that. So with that, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Appreciate everybody hanging out in the comments. And like I said, drop some suggestions in the comments for maybe a topic for next week. And if it's a good one, I'll see you guys there. Peace.